When a powerful CEO agrees to one final blind date, he expects another disappointment. Instead, a tearful 6-year-old girl appears at the restaurant door with devastating news about her dying mother. What happens next will restore your faith in destiny and prove that love finds us when we least expect it. If this story touches your heart, please like this video and comment below telling me what you think happens next. Your support means everything. Marcus Wells stared at his reflection in the floor-to-ceiling windows of his corner office, 42 floors above Manhattan. The city sprawled beneath him like a kingdom he'd conquered but couldn't enjoy. 3 years had passed since the accident that took Victoria, his wife of 12 years, and the emptiness inside him had only grown deeper with each passing day. His assistant Patricia had been relentless in her campaign to get him back into the dating world, arranging blind dates that Marcus endured with all the enthusiasm of a man facing a root canal. "This is the last one," he'd told Patricia that morning, his voice carrying the weight of a man who'd completely run out of hope. "After tonight, no more setups, I mean it this time." Patricia had smiled, that knowing smile of hers, the one that suggested she understood something he didn't. "Just give it a chance, Mr. Wells. Sarah comes highly recommended by mutual friends. She's a graphic designer, loves classic literature just like you, and she's been through her own losses too. I have a genuinely good feeling about this one." Marcus had nodded absently, already mentally preparing himself for another evening of forced conversation and polite lies about definitely calling again soon. At 7 p.m. sharp, he found himself at Bellissimo, an upscale Italian restaurant in Midtown Manhattan where he'd reserved the best corner table overlooking the glittering city lights. Sarah had declined his offer to pick her up in his car, preferring to meet there directly instead. He appreciated that decision at least. Much less awkward than an uncomfortable car ride if things didn't click between them. He sat alone at the pristine white-clothed table, watching couples around him laugh and touch hands tenderly across candlelit tables, while soft music played in the background. The expensive wine he'd ordered sat completely untouched in its crystal glass. 7:15 came and went slowly. Then 7:30 crawled by. Marcus felt the all-too-familiar disappointment settling heavily in his chest like a stone. Another no-show. Another complete waste of an evening. Another reminder that he was fundamentally broken inside. He was reaching for his phone to call for his driver when he heard the sudden commotion at the restaurant entrance. "Please, sir, you need to wait for your parents," the hostess was saying firmly, her voice strained with professional courtesy that was barely masking obvious alarm and concern. "I need to find someone, please, I have to." A small voice cried out desperately, high-pitched and absolutely terrified. Marcus turned in his chair, and his breath caught sharply in his throat. A little girl, no more than 6 or 7 years old, stood trembling in the elegant restaurant entrance. Her blonde hair was tangled and messy, her pink dress was dirty at the hem, and tears streamed continuously down her flushed cheeks. She clutched a worn teddy bear tightly in one small hand and a cell phone in the other trembling hand. Her bright blue eyes, impossibly wide with terror and desperate hope, scanned the crowded restaurant wildly, searching for something or someone. Then those eyes locked directly onto Marcus with laser focus. The child broke free from the startled hostess's gentle grip and ran straight toward him with single-minded determination, her small feet pounding frantically against the polished marble floor. Every single head in the restaurant turned to stare at the disruption. Marcus stood instinctively, his heart hammering hard as this tiny complete stranger threw herself directly at his table with abandon. "Are you Marcus? Please, please say you're Marcus," she sobbed desperately, her whole small body shaking violently. "My mommy said she was meeting Marcus Wells tonight at this restaurant. You have to be him. You absolutely have to." Marcus crouched down immediately to her eye level, his usual businessman's composure cracking completely at the raw fear plainly visible in this child's tear-stained face. "I'm Marcus Wells. What's wrong, sweetheart? Where's your mother right now?" The little girl's face crumpled entirely, and she grabbed his expensive jacket with both of her small, desperate hands. "My mommy is really sick. She won't wake up at all. I tried and tried so hard, but she won't open her eyes no matter what I do. She was getting ready to meet you for your date, and then she just fell down hard, and now she won't wake up at all. The words tumbled out in a frantic rush, punctuated by hiccuping sobs that shook her entire frame. She told me very clearly to come find you if something really bad happened to her. She gave me money for a taxi and made me solemnly promise. She said you'd definitely be at Bellissimo restaurant at exactly 7 o'clock. Please, you absolutely have to help her right now. She desperately needs a doctor, but she won't let me call 911 for help. She made me promise really hard not to call 911 ever. The child completely dissolved into heartbreaking tears, pressing her wet face against Marcus's chest and soaking his shirt. Every protective instinct Marcus possessed as a man, as a former devoted husband, as a decent human being, suddenly roared powerfully to life inside him. He lifted the trembling girl carefully into his strong arms, grabbed his coat from the chair and strode purposefully toward the exit with long strides. "What's your home address, sweetheart?" he asked calmly, his voice remarkably steady despite the pure adrenaline flooding rapidly through his entire system. The little girl recited a Brooklyn address between racking sobs, and Marcus was already pulling out his phone with his free hand, ordering his personal driver to meet him out front immediately without any delay. Within exactly 2 minutes, they were safely inside his sleek black Mercedes, speeding urgently through the heavy Friday night Manhattan traffic. Marcus held the traumatized child securely in his lap as she cried desperately into his shoulder, her small, fragile body racked continuously with overwhelming fear and exhaustion. "What's your name, sweetheart?" he asked as gently as possible, trying desperately to keep her focused and reasonably calm during the drive. "Melody," she whispered hoarsely through her tears. "Melody Patterson. My mommy's name is Sarah. Sarah Patterson. I'm going to be 7 years old in exactly 2 weeks from today. Sarah." His blind date for tonight. Marcus's sharp mind reeled with countless questions, but they could definitely wait for later. Right now, right this very moment, a woman was lying unconscious and possibly actively dying somewhere, and her terrified daughter, just barely shy of 7 years old, had somehow crossed half of New York City completely alone to find a total stranger who might possibly help them. The drive to Brooklyn felt absolutely endless and torturous. Melody clutched her worn teddy bear tightly and whispered brokenly between painful sobs. She looked so pretty tonight before it happened. She put on her special blue dress, the one she saves carefully for really special things. She was so nervous about meeting you for the first time. She kept nervously fixing her hair and asking me repeatedly if she looked okay. Then she just suddenly fell down hard in the bathroom. There was bright red blood coming from her nose, and she wouldn't open her eyes at all, no matter what. Marcus tightened his protective arms around the traumatized child, his jaw set with grim determination. How long ago did this terrible thing happen exactly? Maybe about an hour ago. She fell down at 6:30 exactly. She told me very clearly before tonight, if she ever got really, really sick like this, to come immediately find you. She had your picture from the internet and everything. She said you were definitely a good man who could help us when we needed it most. Melody looked up at him with eyes absolutely full of desperate hope and trust. "You are a good man, right? You'll really help my mommy?" "I promise you with everything I am," Marcus said intensely, and he meant it with absolutely every fiber of his being. Something profound about this entire situation, this brave child, this woman he'd never even met before tonight, gripped him powerfully in a way he absolutely couldn't explain rationally. It felt exactly like the universe had deliberately reached down and grabbed him firmly by the collar, saying clearly, "Pay very close attention. This matters more than anything." They pulled up quickly to a modest apartment building in a clearly working-class Brooklyn neighborhood. Melody led him urgently up 3 flights of narrow stairs to a small apartment. The door was unlocked. Marcus's heart pounded violently as they entered together. The apartment was undeniably tiny but surprisingly clean, decorated with obvious loving care despite extremely limited financial means. Colorful children's drawings covered the refrigerator completely. A small, overcrowded bookshelf overflowed with worn paperbacks. "Mommy!" Melody cried desperately, running frantically toward a darkened hallway. Marcus followed immediately and stopped completely dead in the bathroom doorway, frozen. A woman lay crumpled on the cold tile floor, her beautiful blonde hair spilled around her like golden silk. Even unconscious and deathly pale, She was absolutely breathtaking. She wore a simple blue dress that brought out her eyes perfectly, now closed. Dried blood crusted beneath her nose, and her breathing was terrifyingly shallow but still steady. Marcus dropped instantly to his knees beside her motionless form, his skilled fingers finding her pulse point. Weak, but definitely present. "Sarah," he said very firmly, touching her shoulder carefully. "Sarah, can you hear me at all?" No response whatsoever. He pulled out his phone decisively. "No!" Melody grabbed his hand desperately. "She made me promise really hard. No 911 ever. She said we absolutely can't afford it at all, and they'll take me away from her if they know she's sick again." Marcus looked at the absolutely terrified child, then back at the unconscious woman, and made a crucial decision instantly. "I'm calling my personal physician right now. He makes private house calls and he's completely discreet. But your mother desperately needs professional help right this moment, Melody. Do you trust me enough?" Melody nodded frantically, tears streaming down her face continuously. Marcus made the call immediately. Dr. Raymond Chen answered on the second ring. "Marcus, it's Friday night. This better be genuinely important. Raymond, I need you in Brooklyn immediately without any delay. I'm sending you an address right now." A woman, mid-30s, completely unconscious, nosebleed, dangerously shallow breathing. It looks like she collapsed about 90 minutes ago. Marcus rattled off the symptoms professionally while gently moving Sarah carefully into recovery position. "I'll be there in 20 minutes maximum. Don't move her more than absolutely necessary." As they waited anxiously, Marcus explored the apartment carefully with Melody clinging desperately to his hand. The signs were everywhere once he knew to look. Prescription bottles lined the bathroom cabinet, multiple medications with names Marcus didn't recognize. A medical alert bracelet lay on the bedside table next to a framed photo of Sarah and Melody at the beach, both laughing joyfully into the camera. Medical bills, partially hidden in a drawer, showed staggering amounts with "past due" stamped in red. In the kitchen, the refrigerator held mostly basics and child-friendly foods, carefully budgeted. But what caught Marcus's attention was a note on the counter in feminine handwriting. Mel's emergency instructions, with his name, the restaurant name, and detailed directions. Below it, "If I don't wake up, Mr. Wells is a good man. He'll help you. I know he will." Marcus stared at those words, written by a woman who'd never met him, who'd placed her daughter's safety in the hands of a blind date who might never have shown up. The trust, the desperation, the sheer courage it must have taken to write those words made his throat tight. "Why did your mother think I would help?" Marcus asked Melody gently. The little girl looked up at him with those impossibly blue eyes. "She read about you in a magazine, about how you lost your wife and how you give money to hospitals and sick kids. She said anyone who helps sick children when his heart is broken must be a really good person deep down. She said maybe you'd understand about being sad and needing help." Marcus felt something crack open inside his chest, some frozen part of himself he'd locked away 3 years ago. This woman, this stranger, had seen past his wealth and reputation to something he'd thought died with Victoria. "Doctor?" Chen arrived with 2 medical bags and immediately took over. Marcus led Melody to the living room while the doctor examined Sarah. The little girl sat pressed against his side on the small couch, exhausted from crying but too scared to sleep. "Tell me about your mom," Marcus said softly. Melody's face lit up despite her fear. "She's the best mommy ever. She works really hard at a design company making pictures for websites. She lets me help sometimes, picking colors. She reads me stories every night even when she's too tired. She makes funny voices for all the characters." The child's voice wobbled. "But she gets sick a lot." "The doctor said her heart doesn't work right. She takes lots of medicine, but sometimes it's not enough. She always gets back up, though. She always does." Dr. Chen emerged 40 minutes later, his expression grave. "She's stable for now. I've started an IV for dehydration and given her medication to stabilize her heart rhythm. But Marcus, this woman has severe cardiomyopathy. Her heart is functioning at maybe 40% capacity. She needs to be in a hospital immediately." "She can't afford it," Marcus said quietly, "and she's terrified they'll take her daughter. That child's mother is dying, Marcus. Without proper treatment, she won't make it 6 months. She needs a transplant." Marcus looked at Melody sleeping against his shoulder. He thought of Victoria, of the emptiness consuming him for 3 years, of the note written by a woman who'd trusted a stranger. Something shifted in the universe at that moment. "What does she need?" he asked. "Full cardiac care, surgery, hundreds of thousands of dollars." "Make it happen," Marcus said. "I'll cover everything." Sarah woke briefly around midnight. "You're Marcus Wells," she whispered. "You came. Melody found you." "Rest," Marcus said gently. "Your daughter is safe. You're going to be okay. I promise." As Sarah drifted back to unconsciousness, she whispered, "Thank you for being the man I hoped you'd be." Marcus sat through the night making calls, arranging transfers, setting wheels in motion. And for the first time in 3 years, the emptiness inside him felt like it might begin to fill. Morning sunlight crept through Sarah's apartment as Marcus ended another call. Presbyterian Hospital's cardiac team would be ready by 8. Melody still slept, exhausted. Dr. Chen emerged. "She's stable enough for transport. But Marcus, she's in end-stage heart failure. Without a transplant, her prognosis isn't good." At 6:30, Melody woke. "Mommy!" she cried. Marcus caught her gently. "Your mom is stable. She's going to the hospital where they can help her." "Is she going to die?" He crouched to her level. "Your mom is very sick, Melody, but the best doctors are going to take care of her. We're not giving up." Sarah was awake when they entered. "Mr. Wells, I don't understand. Why are you still here?" "Call me Marcus. Your daughter trusted me to help. That deserves an answer." "I can't pay you back. I'm drowning in debt. I shouldn't have agreed to that date." "Patricia from Wells Enterprises?" Marcus asked. "She's my supervisor's wife. She felt sorry for me. Instead, I collapsed and sent my 6-year-old to find you." "Sarah, in an hour, an ambulance is taking you to Presbyterian. You'll have specialists waiting to evaluate you for a transplant." "I can't afford that. One night would bankrupt me." "It's handled." "No, I can't accept charity. I have my pride. Your daughter needs her mother alive more than she needs your pride intact." Sarah looked at Melody, watching them. "Why would you do this? My wife died 3 years ago. I couldn't save her. If I can save someone's mother, maybe that means something." At 7, the ambulance arrived. Sarah was whisked into Presbyterian's cardiac wing. Dr. Natasha Volkov, a leading specialist, examined her. "This patient should have been hospitalized months ago," Volkov told Marcus. "She'll need an LVAD implanted as a bridge to transplant. Cost isn't a factor. Schedule the surgery." Over the next week, Marcus became a fixture at the hospital. He hired Mrs. Chen to help with Melody but spent evenings there himself. He read stories, bought coloring books, learned Melody loved strawberry ice cream. Sarah watched from her bed. "You should be running your company, not babysitting my daughter. I have excellent people running my company. Besides, I haven't felt this useful in years." "Why are you really doing this?" Marcus set down his tablet. "When Victoria died, I threw myself into work. Everything felt empty. That night at the restaurant, I decided it was my last attempt at moving forward. Then Melody showed up and I realized what I'd been missing. Purpose, Sarah. You and your daughter have given me that. I'm terrified of what happens to Melody if I don't make it. She wouldn't go into the system. I'd petition for guardianship." Sarah stared. "You can't just adopt someone's child. If the worst happens, I'd make sure she's cared for, educated, loved." Fresh tears spilled. "How do I thank you?" "Get better. That's all the thanks I need." The LVAD surgery was scheduled. The night before, Sarah asked Marcus to stay. They talked through the night. Sarah told him about Melody's birth, her diagnosis, impossible choices. Marcus shared about Victoria, the accident, the guilt he carried. "You can't blame yourself for being alive," Sarah said. "Maybe that's what we all are, works in progress." At dawn, nurses prepared Sarah for surgery. "I'll be here when you wake up," Marcus promised. As they wheeled her away, Sarah whispered, "Tell Melody I love her more than all the stars." Marcus and Melody waited 8 hours. At hour 7, Dr. Volkov appeared. Everything went perfectly. Her body is accepting the LVAD. When they saw Sarah in ICU, connected to machines but alive, Melody climbed onto the bed. "You did it, Mommy." Sarah's eyes opened. She smiled at Marcus. Works in progress. Sarah's recovery from the LVAD surgery was slower than anyone hoped, but faster than some feared. The device whirred softly in her chest 24 hours a day, a mechanical heart helping her damaged one pump blood through her exhausted body. She spent 2 full weeks in the intensive care unit under constant monitoring, then another full month in a regular hospital room, gradually regaining strength, while dedicated doctors monitored her progress carefully and adjusted medications daily. Throughout it all, Marcus was an absolutely constant presence by her side. He'd completely restructured his entire life around Sarah and Melody's needs, without a single second thought or hesitation. His executive team had learned quickly to conduct important meetings via video conference from the hospital waiting room. His assistant Patricia had cried genuine tears of joy when she learned what happened, immediately arranging meal deliveries, thoughtful care packages, and whatever else Sarah might possibly need. "I was genuinely hoping you two would hit it off," Patricia told Marcus one afternoon outside Sarah's hospital room. "But I never imagined anything like this. You've completely transformed, Marcus. You're genuinely alive again in a way I haven't seen in 3 years." Marcus watched through the window as Melody showed her mother a colorful drawing she'd made, a picture of the 3 of them holding hands under a vibrant rainbow. "I didn't know how dead I'd become until I had a reason to live again," he admitted quietly. "They saved me as much as I'm helping them survive." By week 6, Sarah was strong enough for short walks down the hospital corridor with assistance. Marcus would push her wheelchair carefully while Melody skipped ahead excitedly, the LVAD's battery pack secured safely in a bag at Sarah's side. They became a familiar sight on the cardiac floor, the wealthy CEO, the sick young mother, and the bright-eyed little girl who'd brought them together against all odds. "I need to talk seriously about what happens next," Sarah said one evening after Melody had gone home with Mrs. Chen for the night. She sat in the chair by her window, looking healthier than she had in months, despite all the medical equipment. "I can't stay in the hospital forever, and I absolutely can't go back to my apartment. 3 flights of stairs with this device, completely impossible. Plus I can't work for months, maybe longer. I have no income, mounting bills, nowhere to go." Her voice cracked with emotion. "I feel so utterly helpless." Marcus had been expecting this difficult conversation and had already made detailed arrangements. "I have a solution, but I need you to hear me out completely before you say no." Sarah eyed him warily. "Why do I feel like I'm about to argue with you?" "Because you're stubborn and independent and you hate accepting help," Marcus said with a slight smile. "But you're also practical and you love your daughter more than your pride. So hear me out completely." He pulled up a photo on his tablet. "This is my home in Connecticut. It's about an hour from the city. 8 bedrooms, full medical suite that I had installed when Victoria was sick, private grounds, live-in staff including a nurse. There's a wing on the east side that's completely self-contained. Bedroom, bathroom, sitting room, kitchenette. It's been empty since Victoria's mother passed away 2 years ago." Sarah stared at the photo of the sprawling estate. "Marcus, I can't move into your mansion like some charity case." "Let me finish," Marcus interrupted gently. "You need round-the-clock medical monitoring. You need a safe, accessible space for recovery. You need someone to help with Melody while you heal. I have all of that sitting empty. And before you say it's too much, think about what's best for your daughter. Would she rather see you stressed and struggling in some inadequate apartment, or happy and healing in a safe place? That's not fair, using Melody. It's completely fair. She's the most important factor in this equation." Marcus leaned forward. "Sarah, I'm not asking you to accept charity. I'm offering you a place to recover where you can focus entirely on getting strong enough for a transplant. Melody can have stability, good schools, space to be a kid instead of a caretaker. And honestly, I could use the company. That house has been a mausoleum for 3 years. Maybe it's time it felt like a home again." Sarah wiped at her eyes. "I don't understand you, Marcus Wells. What do you get out of this, really?" Marcus was quiet for a long moment, gathering his thoughts. "When Victoria died, I thought my capacity for caring about people died with her. I went through the motions, Work, charity, obligatory social events, but I felt nothing. Empty. Then Melody crashed into my life, terrified and desperate, and something woke up inside me. Purpose, connection, the desire to protect and help and be present. He met Sarah's eyes. You and your daughter have given me something I thought I'd never have again. A reason to come home at night that isn't just habit. That's worth more than any amount of money. We've known each other 2.5 months, Sarah whispered. This is insane. Completely insane, Marcus agreed. And yet, here we are. Sarah looked at the photo of the estate again, then at the stark hospital room that had been her world for over a month. If I do this, and I'm not saying yes yet, there would need to be boundaries, clear expectations. I won't have Melody getting attached to a situation that might disappear. Agreed. We'll draw up a formal arrangement. You're not guests, you're residents with rights and privacy. If at any point you want to leave, you can. No questions, no guilt. Marcus paused. But I hope you'll give it a real chance, Sarah. For Melody's sake, yes, but also for yours. You've been fighting alone for so long. Let someone stand beside you for a while. 3 days later, Marcus's private car pulled up to his Connecticut estate with Sarah and Melody inside. Sarah had insisted on seeing the space before agreeing, half expecting it to feel like a prison despite Marcus's assurances. Instead, as they drove through the tree-lined driveway and the house came into view, she felt something unexpected. Peace. The estate was beautiful, but not ostentatious. Classic New England architecture surrounded by mature gardens and rolling lawns. Inside, the house was elegantly furnished but comfortable, lived in despite Marcus's claims of it feeling empty. Staff appeared to help with bags, but didn't hover. The head housekeeper, Anna, was a warm woman in her 50s who immediately offered cookies and a tour. The East Wing suite was perfect, spacious but cozy with large windows overlooking the gardens. The medical equipment was discreetly tucked into a corner but readily accessible. A connecting door led to a smaller bedroom that had been prepared for Melody, decorated in soft purples and filled with books, toys, and art supplies. Melody's squeal of delight echoed through the house. "Mommy, look! There's a window seat and a reading nook, and look at all the stuffed animals." She ran from corner to corner, her joy infectious. Sarah sank onto the bed, overwhelmed. "Marcus, this is too much." "It's exactly enough," he corrected, sitting beside her. "The medical nurse, Helen, will be here twice daily to check your vitals and manage the LVAD. Anna will handle meals and housekeeping. Mrs. Chen will continue helping with Melody's care and education. All you need to do is rest and heal." "I need to contribute something," Sarah insisted. "I can't just live here doing nothing." Marcus considered this. "You're a graphic designer, right? My company needs a website redesign. I've been putting it off for months. If you feel up to it, once you're stronger, you could consult on that. Paid work, professional contract. Would that help?" Sarah nodded, relief evident. "Yes, that would help a lot." Over the following weeks, they settled into an unexpected routine. Marcus would leave for the office each morning but return by dinner, which they shared as a makeshift family. Melody blossomed in the stable environment, her anxiety fading as she saw her mother growing stronger. She started at the local private school, where she quickly made friends and shocked her teachers with her artistic talent. Sarah began working a few hours daily on the website redesign, energized by having professional purpose again. Marcus would often find her in the sunroom, laptop balanced on her knees, sketching design concepts. They'd talk about the project, about Melody's day, about everything and nothing. One evening, about 2 months into their arrangement, Marcus found Sarah in the garden. She was walking slowly but steadily, no longer needing the wheelchair. The sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Doctor Volkov called today," Sarah said as Marcus joined her on the stone path. "My heart function has improved 15% since the surgery. The LVAD is working perfectly, and I'm officially on the transplant list. She said if I continue improving at this rate, I'll be a strong candidate when a heart becomes available." "That's wonderful news," Marcus said, genuinely thrilled. "It is," Sarah agreed, her voice trembling slightly. "It's also terrifying. Because for the first time in years, I'm allowing myself to hope for a future. A real future, not just surviving day to day. She turned to face him. And that future is all tangled up with you now. You've become so important to us, Marcus. To Melody, yes, but also to me. And I don't know what to do with that. Marcus's heart raced. They'd been dancing around this for weeks. The connection that went beyond gratitude or friendship. What do you want to do with it? He asked carefully. I don't know, Sarah admitted. 6 months ago, I was a single mother barely holding on, convinced I'd die before Melody turned 10. Now I'm living in a mansion with a man I was supposed to meet for one blind date, and he's become the most important person in my world besides my daughter. It doesn't make sense. The best things rarely do, Marcus said softly. When Victoria died, I thought that was it for me. One great love in a lifetime, and I'd had mine. I never expected to feel this way again. He took Sarah's hand. But here you are, and here I am, and nothing about this situation is logical or planned or sensible. Yet I can't imagine my life without you and Melody in it anymore. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I'm still sick, Marcus. I might always be sick. Even with a transplant, there are no guarantees. I could reject the heart, develop complications, die on the operating table. Loving me is signing up for potential heartbreak all over again. Living is signing up for potential heartbreak, Marcus countered. But it's also signing up for joy, connection, purpose, all the things that make life worth the risk. I lost Victoria, and it nearly destroyed me. But I wouldn't trade our years together to avoid the pain of losing her. Love is always worth the risk. Are you saying you love me? Sarah whispered. Marcus cupped her face gently. I'm saying I'm falling in love with you. With your strength, your grace, your fierce devotion to your daughter. With the way you argue with me when you think I'm being too generous. With your smile when Melody does something that makes you proud. With all of it, Sarah, I'm falling and I don't want to stop. And Sarah kissed him then, soft and tentative and sweet. When they pulled apart, she was crying and laughing simultaneously. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy, Marcus agreed, pulling her close. But I think we've established that crazy is kind of our thing. They stood in the garden as the sun set, holding each other while Melody's laughter drifted from the house where she was playing with Anna's daughter. In that moment, both of them bruised by loss and illness and life's cruelties, they chose hope, chose each other, chose to believe that sometimes the best things come from the most unexpected places, like a blind date that never happened but changed everything anyway. Inside the house, Melody stood at her window, watching her mother and Marcus embrace. A smile bloomed across her face. She'd been so scared that night she'd run to the restaurant, so certain she'd lose her mother. Instead, she'd found something she'd never had before. A family. She pulled out her drawing pad and began sketching a new picture. This one showed 3 people, a tall man, a beautiful woman, and a little girl, standing in front of a big house with a rainbow arching overhead. At the bottom, in her careful, nearly 7-year-old handwriting, she wrote, "My family." Tomorrow she'd give it to Marcus and her mom. But tonight she just colored and hummed happily, secure in the knowledge that sometimes when you're brave enough to ask for help, miracles happen. And they were living in one. The future was uncertain. Sarah's health remained fragile. The transplant list had no guarantees. Life could change in an instant, as Marcus knew too well. But they had now this moment, this unexpected beautiful now. And for a man who'd spent 3 years mourning the past and a woman who'd spent years just trying to survive to see tomorrow, now was everything. 3 months after Sarah and Melody moved into the Connecticut estate, the house had transformed completely into something Marcus hadn't experienced in years, a genuine home filled with vibrant life and constant laughter. Melody's colorful artwork covered the expensive stainless steel refrigerator in the main kitchen, despite Anna's gentle protests that it clashed terribly with the high-end designer appliances. Sarah's design materials and sketches had gradually migrated from her private suite to the beautiful sunroom, where the natural light was absolutely best for her creative work. Marcus found himself leaving the Manhattan office earlier each day, genuinely eager to return home to the warmth and laughter waiting for him. The website redesign project had evolved naturally into a full professional consulting contract. Sarah's creative work was genuinely exceptional, and Marcus's marketing team had been absolutely thrilled with her fresh, innovative perspective on the company's digital presence. She worked carefully limited hours, being cautious not to overexert herself physically, but the creative outlet seemed to fuel her recovery almost as much as the excellent medical care did. Dr. Volkov's monthly medical checkups had been increasingly positive with each visit. Sarah's heart function continued to improve steadily with the LVAD's mechanical support, and she'd moved up significantly on the transplant waiting list. Her overall health was genuinely the best it had been in 3 long years, a wonderful fact that brought grateful tears to her eyes during each appointment. "I honestly can't believe this is my actual life now," Sarah told Marcus one peaceful Saturday morning, as they watched Melody playing energetically in the garden with 2 school friends she'd invited over for the afternoon. "Just 6 months ago, I was genuinely terrified every single morning that I wouldn't wake up at all. Now I'm actively planning Melody's upcoming birthday party and thinking seriously about next year's school enrollment." Marcus wrapped a protective arm around her shoulders warmly. "You've worked incredibly hard to get here, Sarah. You genuinely deserve every single bit of this happiness. We both know perfectly well I'd be dead without your help and generosity." Sarah's voice was quiet but absolutely firm with conviction. "The medical bills alone would have completely bankrupted me within weeks. I'd have been forced to choose between life-saving medication and feeding Melody properly. Instead, I'm standing here healthy enough to walk 3 full miles yesterday without getting winded at all." "You'd have found another way somehow," Marcus insisted loyally. "You're far too stubborn to give up easily." "Stubbornness doesn't pay for extremely expensive LVAD surgery," Sarah countered practically. She turned to face him directly, her expression becoming serious. "Marcus, we genuinely need to talk about what happens when I eventually get the transplant. After the surgery, after the recovery period, when I'm truly healthy again. What happens to us then?" Marcus felt his stomach tighten with anxiety. This was the conversation he'd been both anticipating and dreading. "What do you want to happen?" "That's not really an answer," Sarah said gently. "You've built your entire life around taking care of us. When I don't need taking care of anymore, does this all end? Do we go back to our separate lives? Is that what you want?" Marcus asked, unable to keep the fear from his voice. "No," Sarah said immediately. "God, no. But I need to know this isn't just about you saving someone. I need to know that when I'm well, when I'm not this fragile thing that needs protecting, you'll still want me around." Marcus pulled her close, his heart aching. "Sarah, I fell in love with you, not with rescuing you. Yes, helping you heal has given me purpose, but you've given me so much more. You've given me laughter again. Conversations that challenge me. Someone who sees past the money and the power to who I actually am. Do you really think that disappears when you're healthy?" "I worry constantly," Sarah admitted, her face pressed against his chest. "I worry that you fell in love with the situation, not the person. That once I'm strong enough to stand on my own, you'll realize you don't need me anymore." Marcus tilted her chin up to meet his eyes directly. "Sarah Patterson, I have been alone by choice for 3 full years. I had money, power, opportunity. I could have dated anyone, married again if I wanted. I chose solitude because nothing felt right. Then a terrified little girl found me in a restaurant, and her brave, stubborn, beautiful mother showed me what I'd been missing. Not someone to rescue, someone to build a life with." Tears streamed down Sarah's face. "I love you so much it terrifies me, because I've never had something this good, and I keep waiting for it to be taken away." "I know that feeling," Marcus said softly, thinking of Victoria. "But we can't live in fear of loss. We have to trust that what we're building is strong enough to weather whatever comes." Their moment was interrupted by Melody running up breathlessly, excited. "Marcus, Mommy, can we have my birthday party here? With a bouncy castle and face painting and everything, please?" Marcus laughed, lifting the little girl into his arms. "Of course we can. Whatever you want, birthday girl." Melody wrapped her arms around his neck tightly. "Can I ask you something important? Anything at all? When Mommy gets her new heart and gets all better, are you still going to be here? Katie at school said her mom's boyfriend left when her mom didn't need help anymore. You're not going to leave, are you?" The question hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. He exchanged a look with Sarah over Melody's head, seeing his own emotions reflected in her eyes. "Melody, look at me," he said gently, setting her down so they were eye level. "I'm not your mommy's boyfriend because she needed help. I'm here because I love her. And I love you. That doesn't change whether your mom is sick or healthy, understand?" "You love us?" Melody's eyes went wide. "Like, really love us? Forever love us?" "Forever love you," Marcus confirmed, his voice thick with emotion. "You're my family now. Both of you. And family doesn't leave." Melody threw herself at him, nearly knocking him over. "I love you too, Marcus, so much." Over Melody's head, Marcus met Sarah's tear-filled gaze. In that moment, something unspoken passed between them. This was real. This was permanent. Whatever the future held, they would face it together. Melody's 7th birthday party 2 weeks later was a spectacular affair. Marcus had initially wanted to hire professional party planners, but Sarah had insisted they do it themselves, wanting it to feel personal rather than purchased. The compromise was Marcus providing resources while Sarah directed the vision. The estate's back lawn was transformed into a carnival wonderland. A massive bouncy castle dominated one corner. A face painting station was set up under colorful tents. Anna had orchestrated a menu of child-friendly foods that somehow also appealed to the attending parents. 20 children from Melody's school ran wild across the perfectly manicured grass, their laughter filling the air. Marcus stood near the refreshment table, watching Sarah coordinate activities with the ease of a woman who'd done this countless times. She was radiant in a simple yellow sundress, her color healthy, her movements confident. The LVAD battery pack was cleverly concealed in a designer bag that Anna had found, making it nearly invisible. "You've done an amazing thing here, Marcus," Patricia said, appearing at his elbow with a glass of lemonade. "I've known you for 15 years, and I've never seen you this happy. Not even with Victoria, if I'm honest. You're different now. Lighter." Before Marcus could respond, a commotion erupted near the bouncy castle. He turned to see Melody standing frozen, staring at someone who'd just arrived. A man in his late 30s, casually dressed but clearly out of place among the party guests, stood at the edge of the lawn. Sarah had gone completely pale. She moved toward Melody, positioning herself between the child and the stranger. "What are you doing here, Derek?" Her voice was cold in a way Marcus had never heard. Derek. The name clicked. Melody's father. The man who'd abandoned Sarah when she was pregnant. Marcus moved quickly to Sarah's side. "Is there a problem?" Derek's eyes flicked between Sarah, Marcus, and the elaborate party setup. "Nice place you've got here, Sarah. Quite the upgrade from that Brooklyn shoebox." His gaze settled on Marcus with calculated interest. "You must be the famous Marcus Wells." "I hired a PI to find Sarah after I heard through the grapevine she'd vanished from her old neighborhood. Turns out she landed quite the catch." "You need to leave," Sarah said, her voice shaking with barely controlled anger. "Now." "She's my daughter," Derek said, gesturing toward Melody. "I have a right to see her." "You have no rights," Sarah shot back. "You signed away all parental rights 7 years ago. You have no legal claim and no moral standing. Leave before I call the police." Melody had started crying, pressing against Sarah's side. Marcus felt rage boiling in his chest. "Why are you really here?" Marcus asked, his voice deceptively calm. Derek's expression shifted, revealing the truth. "The PI told me some interesting things. Sarah's been sick, heart problems, living here with you. Big medical expenses, I'd imagine. I figured we should have a conversation about Melody's future. About what's best for her if Sarah's condition worsens." His eyes glinted. "Of course, if Sarah wanted to ensure I stayed out of the picture permanently, well, that kind of peace of mind has a price." "You're trying to extort money," Marcus said flatly. "I'm trying to reconnect with my daughter," Derek said, but his eyes betrayed him. "Though if Sarah needs financial assistance to keep her medical situation private, to keep custody of Melody secure, well, I could be persuaded to disappear again, for the right amount." Sarah's knees buckled slightly. Marcus caught her, fury coursing through his veins. "Anna," Marcus called out calmly. "Please call Officer Bradley." Tell him we have a trespasser making threats on private property. Derek's confidence wavered. You can't just... I can, and I am, Marcus interrupted. You have exactly 1 minute to leave before the police arrive, and if you ever come near Sarah or Melody again, I will bury you in lawsuits so deep you'll never see daylight. I have excellent lawyers, unlimited resources, and a very strong motivation to protect this family. The investigator you hired? I'll find him and make sure your little scheme is documented. Try me. Derek left, practically running across the lawn. Sarah collapsed against Marcus, sobbing. Melody clung to them both, terrified. Marcus led them inside to a quiet sitting room. Sarah was shaking. He could challenge my custody, she whispered. He won't, Marcus said firmly. Tomorrow, I'm calling my legal team. Marcus had been planning to wait, to find the perfect moment. But life didn't wait for perfect moments. He dropped to one knee in front of Sarah and Melody, taking both their hands. Sarah Patterson, I love you with everything I am. Marry me, not someday, soon. Let me be Melody's legal stepfather. Let me be your husband. Let me make sure no one can ever threaten this family again. Sarah stared at him, tears streaming. Marcus, you can't propose because you're afraid. I'm proposing because I want to spend my life with you, Marcus interrupted. Derek showing up just made me realize I'm done waiting. I want you to be my wife. I want to adopt Melody legally. I want us to be a family in every sense. Melody looked between them. Are you asking Mommy to marry you? Does that mean you'd be my dad? If you'd want that, Marcus said softly. I would love to be your dad in all the ways that matter. To be there for school plays and soccer games and skinned knees. To read you bedtime stories. To be someone you can count on. Always. Melody threw her arms around his neck. Yes, yes, I want that. I want you to be my dad forever. Marcus looked at Sarah. What do you say, will you marry me? Sarah laughed through her tears. This is insane. We've known each other 5 months. I'm waiting for a heart transplant. Your proposal happened because my horrible ex showed up. This is not a fairy tale. It's better than a fairy tale, Marcus countered. It's real, messy and complicated and absolutely real. So what do you say? Sarah pulled both Marcus and Melody into an embrace. Yes. God help us. Yes, I'll marry you. Later that night, Marcus and Sarah stood on the terrace watching the stars. I don't have a ring yet, Marcus admitted. I don't need elaborate, Sarah interrupted. I just need you. Marcus kissed her softly. I was thinking we could design it together. I like that idea, Sarah murmured. Something simple but meaningful. Like us. Inside, Melody was supposedly sleeping but was actually lying awake. Marcus was going to be her dad. Her real, actual dad. She pulled out her drawing pad and began sketching. This one showed a wedding with 3 people. A bride, a groom, and a little flower girl all holding hands. Above them, she drew a heart. She labeled it, "The day we became a real family." Then she climbed into bed and fell asleep with a smile, dreaming of the future. The next 4 months passed in a whirlwind. Marcus's legal team worked swiftly to ensure Derek could never threaten them again. They secured a restraining order and reinforced Sarah's sole custody. Simultaneously, Marcus began adoption proceedings for Melody. The wedding was planned for early December, a small intimate ceremony at the estate. They designed her engagement ring together, a delicate platinum band with a sapphire surrounded by diamonds. Melody took her role as flower girl seriously, practicing her walk daily. Dr. Volkov continued to be pleased with Sarah's progress. When a heart becomes available, you'll be ready, the doctor assured her. But the transplant list was unpredictable. Every phone call made Sarah jump. I keep thinking about the donor, Sarah confessed to Marcus one evening. Someone has to die for me to live. How do you process that? You honor it. You live the fullest life possible. You raise our daughter, build our family, create beautiful things. Our daughter, Sarah repeated softly. I still get chills when you say that. The adoption finalization hearing was scheduled for November 15th. Judge Morrison reviewed their file thoroughly. Mr. Wells, the judge said, You've known this child for only 8 months, yet you're seeking full adoption. Walk me through your reasoning. Marcus stood, Melody's hand gripped tightly in his. Your Honor, sometimes family isn't about how long you've known someone. It's about how they change your life. 8 months ago, this little girl found me at my lowest point. She showed me what I'd been missing, the chance to be truly needed. He looked down at Melody. I want to adopt Melody because she's already my daughter in every way that matters. I want to make it legal so she knows she's protected and loved unconditionally. And because when I imagine my future, every single moment includes her. Judge Morrison turned to Melody. Do you want Mr. Wells to become your legal father? Melody stood straighter. Yes, Your Honor. Marcus is the best dad ever. He reads me stories and helps with my homework and makes terrible pancakes that burn, but I eat them anyway because he tries so hard. The courtroom chuckled. He loves my mommy and he loves me and he makes us feel safe. I want him to be my real dad forever. Ms. Patterson, you're consenting to this adoption? Sarah stood. Completely, Your Honor. Marcus has been more of a father to Melody in 8 months than her biological father ever was. Judge Morrison smiled warmly. The petition is granted. Congratulations, Mr. Wells. You're officially a father. Melody launched herself at Marcus with a scream of joy. He caught her, spinning her around. Sarah joined the embrace. I'm your dad, Marcus whispered. Legally, officially, permanently your dad. Best day ever, Melody declared. Well, second best. The wedding will be first best. They celebrated that night with spaghetti and meatballs. Melody insisted on a toast. To my family, she announced. My mom, my dad, and me. Together forever. The following week brought the call. Sarah's phone rang at 6 a.m. Dr. Volkoff's voice was urgent. Sarah, we have a heart. Excellent compatibility. The transplant team is assembling. How quickly can you get to the hospital? Sarah's hands shook. We can be there in an hour. After she hung up, Sarah sat frozen. Marcus understood immediately. It's time, isn't it? Sarah nodded, unable to speak. Terror and hope warred on her face. I need to wake Melody, Sarah said. Let me, Marcus offered. Melody was already awake. Is Mommy getting her new heart? Marcus sat on her bed. She is. We need to go now. Melody's face crumpled. What if something goes wrong? He couldn't promise everything would be okay, but he could promise what mattered. Your mom is the strongest person I know. Dr. Volkoff is the best surgeon. They're going to do everything possible. He met her eyes. And no matter what happens, you and I are going to face it together. You're never going to be alone again. Melody threw her arms around his neck. I'm so scared, Daddy. Daddy, the first time she'd called him that. I know, sweetheart. I'm scared too, but we're going to be brave for your mom. They arrived at Presbyterian by 7. The surgical team was ready. Dr. Volkoff explained the procedure one final time. Sarah signed consent forms. When it was time, Sarah pulled Melody into a fierce embrace. I love you more than all the stars in the sky, baby girl. Remember that, okay? I love you too, Mommy, Melody sobbed. Please come back to me. I'm going to fight like crazy to come back to you, Sarah promised. You and Daddy are worth fighting for. Sarah turned to Marcus. 3 weeks until their wedding, a whole future mapped out, all of it hung in the balance. If something goes wrong, Sarah started. Nothing is going wrong, Marcus interrupted. You're going to get through this surgery and marry me in 3 weeks. That's the only acceptable outcome. Sarah laughed weakly. Always so certain. I'm certain of you. I'm certain of us. He kissed her deeply. I'll be here when you wake up. Both of us will. They wheeled Sarah away at 7:30. Marcus and Melody were directed to the surgical waiting room. 8 to 10 hours estimated. Marcus held Melody on his lap. Other families filled the room, each carrying their own burdens. Patricia arrived around 9 with food. Anna brought clothes and stuffed animals. The chaplain offered prayers. At hour 4, a nurse said the surgery was progressing well. Sarah was stable, the donor heart performing beautifully. At hour 7, Dr. Volkoff appeared briefly. We're closing now. Everything went perfectly. Her body is accepting the heart. All vitals are strong. The relief was overwhelming. Melody cried happy tears. Marcus felt like he could breathe again. At hour 9, they saw her in ICU. Sarah was unconscious, intubated, connected to machines. But her heart, her new, healthy heart, beat steadily on the monitor. Marcus held Melody up. "See, she made it. Just like I promised. When will she wake up? Probably tomorrow. She needs to rest now." They left reluctantly. At the estate, Marcus carried Melody to her room. "Your mom's going to be okay. We're going to be a family for a very long time." He sat alone that night and prayed. "Please let her survive this. Let us have our chance." And Marcus Wells, who'd thought his capacity for love had died 3 years ago, sat in the darkness and waited for dawn, for the woman he loved to wake up and choose life one more time. Sarah woke on the second day, groggy but alive. The breathing tube had been removed. Her new heart beat steadily. When she saw Marcus and Melody, relief flooded her face. "You're here," she whispered. "Where else would we be?" Marcus asked. Melody climbed carefully onto the bed. "You did it, Mommy. You got your new heart." "I am," Sarah agreed, tears streaming. "I'm going to be all better." She looked at Marcus. "I can feel it. It's different, stronger." Dr. Volkov confirmed during examination. "Your new heart is functioning beautifully. No signs of rejection. If recovery continues at this pace, you could be home in 2 weeks." 2 weeks, Sarah repeated. "That's December 7th. The wedding is December 20th. We can postpone," Marcus said. "No," Sarah interrupted firmly. "No postponing. I've waited my entire life for this. We're getting married on December 20th as planned." "You'll barely be recovered." Sarah gripped his hand. "Marcus Wells, I just survived having my heart replaced. I think I can handle saying I do." Dr. Volkov smiled. "If her recovery continues, there's no medical reason to postpone." The next 2 weeks were recovery milestones. Sarah progressed faster than expected. By day 5, she was walking corridors. By day 8, she was laughing about wedding plans. "We're not going to Bora Bora immediately after surgery," Sarah insisted. "Then where?" "The cottage in Maine. Quiet, peaceful, close to hospitals. We can do exotic destinations later." Sarah was discharged December 8th. Coming home felt surreal. She walked through the door with a strong, healthy heart and no battery pack. Melody showed her the wedding preparations. The lawn had been transformed into a winter wonderland with white fabric, lights, and a wooden arbor covered in roses. "It's perfect," Sarah breathed. The wedding party was small. Patricia was maid of honor. Marcus's college friend James was best man, but Melody was the most important participant. December 20th dawned cold and clear with fresh snow. Sarah woke surrounded by Patricia and Anna helping her dress. The gown was simple, cream silk with long sleeves to cover the surgical scar. "You're radiant," Patricia said. "I'm happy," Sarah replied. "I have my health, my daughter, and I'm marrying the most amazing man." Marcus was having a similar conversation with James. "You're sure about this?" "Less than a year. Those people haven't met Sarah," Marcus replied. "I wasted 3 years being alone. I'm not wasting another day." The ceremony was at 4 p.m. 75 guests assembled. Melody walked down the aisle first, scattering rose petals. She looked adorable in her purple dress. Then Sarah appeared. Marcus's breath caught. She was beautiful, glowing with health and happiness. She walked unescorted, symbolic of her independence. Each step was steady, her eyes locked on Marcus. When she reached the arbor, Marcus took her hands. "You're breathtaking," he whispered. "You're not so bad yourself," Sarah whispered back. The officiant began. "We gather to witness the union of two people who found love in unexpected circumstances. Their relationship began with desperation and courage. It has been forged through crisis, strengthened by adversity. Do you, Marcus Alexander Wells, take Sarah Elizabeth Patterson to be your wife? To love her in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, as long as you both shall live?" "I do," Marcus said. "Absolutely, I do." And do you, Sarah Elizabeth Patterson, take Marcus Alexander Wells to be your husband? I do. With all my heart. My new heart, I do. They'd written their own vows. Marcus went first. Sarah, 8 months ago I was going through the motions without being alive. Then your daughter crashed into my life and something woke inside me. Purpose. Hope. You showed me what I'd been missing. The chance to matter fundamentally. You've given me a daughter I adore, a future I can't wait to live, and a reason to believe in second chances. I promise to be the husband and father you both deserve, to stand beside you in every challenge. I love you, Sarah. Today, tomorrow, and all the days after. Sarah pulled out her card. Marcus, when I wrote that note for Melody, I was placing my most precious treasure in a stranger's hands. I had no guarantee you'd help. Just hope. You exceeded every possibility I'd imagined. You gave me medical care that saved my life, gave Melody stability and love, and gave us a family we thought existed only in fairy tales. I promise to be the partner you deserve, to support your dreams, share your burdens, love you fiercely. You saved my life. Now let me spend the rest of it showing you what that gift means. There wasn't a dry eye. Melody cried happy tears. The ring exchange was meaningful. Sarah had designed a ring with their 3 birthstones intertwined. Marcus's ring was platinum, engraved inside. You showed up, love, S&M. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Marcus, you may kiss your bride. Marcus pulled Sarah close and kissed her tenderly. The guests erupted in applause. Melody ran forward and threw her arms around both of them. The reception was in the ballroom. Dinner was elegant but comfortable. Marcus had hired a photographer who captured every moment. During the first dance, Marcus held Sarah carefully. How are you feeling? Perfect, Sarah murmured. Absolutely perfect. This is everything I dreamed of. We did it, Marcus said, against all odds. Because we fought for it, because you showed up. Because we chose each other every day. She met his eyes. I'm going to spend the rest of my life being worthy of your love. You already are, he said, kissing her softly. Melody insisted on a dance with her father. Marcus swept her onto the floor. This is the best day of my whole life, she declared. Mine too, Marcus agreed. As the evening wound down, the 3 of them stood together on the terrace overlooking snow-covered grounds. Next year, Mommy will be super healthy, Melody said. And maybe we'll have a baby brother or sister, and I'll be in 2nd grade, and we'll still be happy forever. Marcus and Sarah exchanged glances. After everything, the illness, the surgery, the recovery, the future Melody described was actually possible. Maybe, Sarah said, maybe all of that and more. That night, after Melody was tucked in and guests departed, Marcus and Sarah stood in their bedroom. She was exhausted but radiant. I need to tell you something, Sarah said. The donor, Dr. Volkov told me about them. Marcus sat beside her, taking her hand. You don't have to. I need to, Sarah insisted. She was 19, a college student studying art education, hit by a drunk driver. Her parents donated her organs because she'd signed up as a donor at 16. Sarah's voice broke. A 19-year-old girl died so I could live. Her parents chose to help strangers. That's an incredible gift. So we honor it, Marcus said softly. We live fully. We love deeply. We raise our daughter to be kind. We make every day count. I want to do more, Sarah said. Start a foundation for transplant patients who can't afford care, so other mothers don't have to choose between medication and feeding their children. Marcus pulled her into his arms. Of course. We'll call it the Victoria and Emily Foundation. Victoria for my late wife, Emily for your donor. 2 lives lost but not forgotten. 2 legacies of love. Sarah cried against his chest. How did I get so lucky? Because you were brave enough to send your daughter to find a stranger. Because you trusted. Because you fought when giving up would have been easier. You created this. They lay together, Marcus listening to her new heartbeat steadily. Outside, snow fell. Inside, their daughter slept peacefully. In the morning, they'd leave for Maine. There would be challenges, medications, checkups, the constant awareness transplant recipients lived with. But they'd face it together. Marcus thought about that night 8 months ago. He'd gone expecting nothing and received everything. A purpose, a daughter, a wife, a future. "Thank you," he whispered, though he wasn't sure who he was thanking. The universe, fate, Victoria, Emily's parents, Melody for her bravery, Sarah for choosing to live. "Thank you for what?" Sarah murmured sleepily. "For showing up," Marcus said simply. "For trusting me, for choosing us." Sarah smiled. "You showed up too. When Melody needed someone, when I needed someone, you showed up. That's love." They fell asleep wrapped in each other's arms, two people who'd found their way through loss and illness and fear to this perfect moment. And somewhere in the night sky, perhaps Victoria and Emily looked down on the family forged from tragedy and grace, and smiled at human resilience and the transformative power of showing up when someone needs you most. The next morning, Melody burst in at 7. "Good morning, Mom and Dad. Time to start our forever family adventure." Marcus laughed, pulling his daughter close while Sarah smiled with pure joy. "Forever family adventure it is," he agreed. And as they began packing for Maine, all three understood this was just the beginning. There would be challenges and setbacks, triumphs and celebrations, but they would face it all together. A man who'd learned to love again, a woman given a second chance at life, and a brave little girl who'd trusted a stranger in a restaurant and changed 3 lives forever. Their story had started with desperation and fear. It was continuing with hope and love and the unshakable certainty that family isn't just who you're born to. It's who shows up when you need them most and chooses to stay through everything that follows. And they were staying. All of them. Forever.